Hirup 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 jalma nu keur lieur ieu keur lieur mah. Aya waktunya lieur, aya waktuna bunga, jeung aya waktuna edan. Dijalani wae hirup mah, asal bermanfaat ku batur. nyoba ting nempo HP jadi agak jelas geus capek panon teh. Panon uring geus capek. Tuh geus aya nu ngelek nu kas nu lalajo saha saya kan nu ngelek. Atur nuhun pisan jeung deui mun ngabere subscribe atur nuhun kadua kalina. Tapi geus lagian syukur alhamdulillah. Komo jeung komen aduh ini bunga tuh sok diantosan komen. Ai lahir mah di Sunda, ai hirup mah di Jawa. Ngomong Sunda teh amin teu poho bahasa Sunda. Amin teu poho bahasa Sunda, ari ngomong Sunda mah da hirup beak ku di Jawa. Soalnya merantau. Selamat malam netizen. Selamat malam teman netizen, teman ngobrol.
alat pengendali pencemar udara yaitu wet scrubber. Di mana wet scrubber memiliki fungsi penting dalam mengendalikan pencemar udara, yaitu yang pertama untuk menyisihkan partikulat dan gas berbahaya. Wet scrubber efektif dalam menghilangkan partikulat dari aliran gas buang, termasuk ke dalamnya debu, abu terbang, dan partikel mengkalik, serta menghilangkan gas berbahaya dari aliran gas buang tersebut, seperti sulfur dioksida, nitrogen oksida, dan gas asam lainnya. Yang kedua yaitu wet scrubber berfungsi untuk mengendalikan emisi dari proses pembakaran, termasuk ke dalamnya pembangkit listrik berbahan bakar fosil, insinerator sampah, dan untuk menangani gas korosif.
Kondisi mesin tanpa air, asap masih sangat tebal sekali. Kita coba nyalakan airnya. Oke, kita lihat perubahannya setelah air mulai mengisi. Ini sekitar 2 menit 3 menit air mengisi. Ya, volume air mulai berkurang. Sekarang kita ke arah merebak, volume air mulai berkurang. Lihat. Tanda bahwa airnya mulai cukup, keluar air dari pembuangan, coba. Kalau sudah mulai keluar air itu tandanya air sudah mulai cukup bersih, asap mulai berkurang drastis di atas. Warna air putih, harus bercampur dengan asap. Keluar dari asap. Nanti sudah terlihat asap. Secara teori, mesin ini bisa menghilangkan sekitar 70% asap. Tapi ini sudah tampak hilang. Bersih. Saya jauhkan betul ya, asap sangat pekat sekali.
Ini kondisi kecepatan atmosfer. Mereka ini didekatkan, maka kecepatannya seperti vakum, jauh lebih cepat.
Asap yang masuk terhisap.
Nah, lihat sana udah habis. Berarti yang ngalir dalam selang ini jauh lebih cepat. Lihat lagi, lagi. Nah, ini keluar bebas ya, lihat itu ditunggu. Hanya keluaran terbuang-buang. Sekarang kalau dia masukkan selang ke isap, semuanya ke isap. Berarti di selang itu kecepatannya jauh lebih cepat. Habis dan ke atas. Kosong. Hampir kosong dan kelihatan asap dan kelihatan.
Selamat malam teman netizen. Ngilang deui atuh. Ngaleungit deui. tarif khusus kabel. Kira tadi atuh. Tah. Kumaha. Oh, temen aduh hilang lagi, punya temen hilang lagi. Nggak apa-apa lah. Ini lagi mempelajari wet scrubber. Penyaring asap. Penyaring asap keluarnya tanpa asap, nggak mencemari lingkungan.
Hi there, my name is Jimmy Locke and I'd like to show you my upgraded invention. What I have here is a two-stage wet scrubber that is enhanced electrically. Now what's unique about it is that the first stage of the wet scrubber charges the incoming air, and the second stage of the wet scrubber absorbs that charged air. What's great about this is that it doesn't produce any ozone from the high voltage circuit. So let me show you how it works. The dirty air enters here. This tank is a pool of salt water. Air will enter the salt water and get charged with a negative charge. The negatively charged air will pass up this tube into the second stage wet scrubber. This is also filled with salt water, but it's charged with a positive charge. So the negative and positive will neutralize in this tank. It'll pass through another wet scrubber and then be sucked out here. Here is the high voltage circuit. What you have here is two 5-stage Cockcroft-Walton multipliers, one producing the negative voltage and one producing the positive voltage. The upper one produces positive high voltage and the lower one produces negative high voltage. Both circuits are grounded with this terminal. So here's how I plan to test it. What I have here is starch powder. Particle ranges from 0.8 microns to 30 microns. So I'm going to put it in here, and then I'm going to use this black sweatshirt against the output and see if it turns white. So I'm planning to use the respirator just in case it doesn't work.
Makasih.
So here are the results. I don't see any white.
Makasih.
So the problem I'm having now is that I don't know exactly how well it works. I know that it can filter out particles from 2 microns and above by measuring carbon dust and then sampling with paper towel and seeing it under a microscope. But below that, I really don't know. I tried using a particle measure, but given that this is a wet scrubber, it puts tiny water vapor droplets into the air, and it just causes a huge particle count. So there's no way to figure out the entire electrically enhanced wet scrubber system. I first have a cyclonic wet scrubber, which captures the large particulates, and then a tube electrostatic precipitator capturing the fine particulates, and then activated carbon pods to capture volatile organic compounds. It's all powered by 2 pairs of 5-stage Cockcroft-Walton multipliers to produce the submicron particles. I have a fog machine. Wet scrubber's running. Electrostatic precipitator is off. I'm going to turn it on. Turn it back off. Now back on. Nice.
welcome to another episode of Doing It Cheap. Before I forget it, I want to give a special shout.
Yeah, due to the air blowing in the escape from here, it is pressing down as the water level is rising. The air is getting compressed and it's pressing down on this surface over here, so water over here. So as the water level is rising, inside the bell, it starts pushing down. And bringing the water level over here. And that surface amount is being pushed out from there. So ideally, when this level comes to here,
Nekat beli lipstick matte belasan ribu yang effortless buat dapetin warna sepekat ini. Halo, tuan ini. Lipstick matte dari Brasso.
How's it going? Been mucking around with a couple of different...
Hi guys, Mr. Sonnenberg here. Today we're going to be talking about scrubbers. This is for Science 9 students studying environmental chemistry. It's top 3 in the textbook. So a scrubber, okay, what it is it uses a sorbent. An absorbent is a substance that can absorb or capture oxides. So a sorbent. So here's a picture of a sorbent that you might find in this. And what they're going to do is they're going to... The key to scrubbing is we're going to see the burning, okay, through combustion. We're going to see exhaust fumes come up through here. So that's where we're going to get this SO2. And now this sulfur dioxide gas is going to make its way into the scrubber. So now this is the burner, the scrubber, and then we have the smokestack over here. So what's actually going to happen is there is water and calcium oxide that is distributed, or it's added, okay, here. And so what's going to happen is the calcium oxide is going to combine with the H2O. It's going to react to produce calcium hydroxide.
How's it going? Been mucking around with a couple of different venturis over the last couple of weeks, just trying to work out what we're going to use for the recirculating aquaculture setup and as well as for the aquaponics. Just trying to get rid of that noisy air compressor that would normally be humming in the background of the clip. So I thought I'd give venturis a shot again. I've used a very basic one before and it worked alright, but I think it would be a lot better than that. I've had CC Dan share an idea with me, so I thought I'd give that one a crack. So just to show you how I'm testing it, mate, what I've done is I've set up a couple of the barrels that will be going into the RAS system. This one will end up being the moving biobed, or one of them will be, and the other one will end up being the sump tank. So I just thought I might as well put the hole in them now, and I can use them as a bit of a tester. I've got a pump in one, it's the 3500 litre an hour pump, and that's just running up through this inch tube, or 25mm tube, and I'm testing the venturis in this barrel here. It's not real scientific. All I'm using is, you know, pretty much we're just going to eyeball the bubbles and see which one looks the best, and we'll take it from there. CC Bear from Backyard Aquaponics shared the idea for this venturi with me, so thank you very much, mate. It's a fairly simple one you can make from off-the-shelf parts of plumbing and hardware supply stores. What you have is your line coming up from your pump. In our case, it's a 1-inch line. Coming up into, or 25mm, coming up into a bit of an elbow. In the elbow, I've got a 25mm to 15mm reducer. I'm not too sure what the standard size is in other areas of the world. A 15mm pipe is then put into there. From there, we have a 15mm tin. This one's a little bit different, as it's got a thread fitting on the top. From there, we're taking out to another 15mm pipe, and then it's expanded out to a 20mm or 3/4 inch pipe, and then from there, the water and air flows down to the fish tank. This little bit here is where all the there. What I've done is cut a bit of a bevel on the edge, on the end, sorry. It's supposedly it has to be between 60 and 90 degrees for your optimum air intake. I've actually made up a few different designs on these. I'll just show you quickly. I've got a fairly blunt into there, and I have another one over here into it, and another one just a bit of a V taken out of it. A few different websites suggested playing around with these guys just to see if you could get better flow rates. I pretty much all settled on one very similar to this. It's got a bit of a knock taken out either side, a bit of a point. So how this actually works is the water comes through here under pressure, is forced around the reed. It creates a low pressure side, so the air from the outside, being a higher pressure, is just drawn straight in, mixes with the water, then goes out through here and down into your fish, and hopefully provides your fish with loads of nice dissolved oxygen. Here's the little jobby in action. I don't know how well this is coming up, but there's loads of air being dragged down with the water. I'm really impressed with this. It's as good as any air compressor we've had. Yeah, so thank you very much, Bear. I've already got one of these made up and it's running, but there's loads of air then goes out through here and down into your fish tank, and hopefully provides your fish with loads of nice dissolved oxygen. Here's the little jobby in action. I don't know how well this is coming up, but there's loads of air being dragged down with the water. I'm really impressed with this. This is as good as any air compressor we've had. Yeah, so thank you very much, Bear. I've already got one of these made up and it's running in the system. It's been in there for a few days now. The only thing I might consider doing with this one, actually I probably will, is glue some of these fittings together. Just when I was putting it together, I turned the pump on, I ended up with a very wet leg. This end here popped off, so yeah, that's about the only other thing I would do. Also too, suggestion Bear made is just if you need to reduce the flow for whatever reason, the amount of air being sucked in, a little tap like this, just pushed onto the 1/2 inch or 13mm pipe, just over the top of your barb fitting, and then you can just control the amount of air that gets drawn in by turning this tap, either fully opening it or retarding it down a bit, turning it down a bit. If you're running something like this in a small barrel setup, like pretty much all a 200 litre or 50-gallon barrel like this, a little tap would come in handy, because otherwise your fish would be swimming in a spa, I think. But yeah, I'm sold on this design. So the next one, I've actually made 2 up of these guys. It's a very basic Venturi. I've seen these online a fair bit. What you have is your pump coming through a 1-inch fitting down to a 3/4 inch. You've got a little bit of a hose. Some people use big pins. I've seen different designs for this. All I've done is drill a hole a little bit smaller than the hose here to make it fairly tight, and just push some hose length down into there. Comes out. This one here, the sweet spot is just below the edge of the fitting here, and there's also again a little bit of a bevel edge. So the idea is you've got high pressure water coming through here. It's restricted, creates a bit of low pressure down there, and sucks the air through the top of this line. So for being a basic little design, this one doesn't do too bad of a job. You can adjust it, increase and decrease the airflow just by raising and lowering this pipe. That just increased it a little bit. There we go. I think I've gone past the sweet spot with this one. Just popping back down. I don't know how well the bubbles are coming up, how well you're seeing them, but just by raising and lowering this pipe, you get different amount of air being sucked into the system. So that's a good deal of air coming through there. Maybe not as good as the other one with the irrigation fitting, but yeah, it definitely is supplying a lot of air down to the base of the drum there. So it could be something to think about. Nice and cheap too. I mean, all you've got is an elbow that you're putting a hole in. There's a little bit of hose. I mean, I've seen people use big pins, so yeah, nice and easy. One thing I've noticed with these little simple units is the size of the bubbles is a little bit larger. Every now and then you get a large bubble coming up to the surface. What you're after is small fine bubbles. You're really trying to get as much oxygen dissolved into the water, and smaller bubbles help that process. So while these work great and will be good for a small little unit, I don't think they're sort of what I'm after with the larger tanks and the larger number of fish. So that's just something to keep in mind. The smaller the bubbles, the more oxygen is going to be dissolved into the water. So just had a quick little think while I was doing this as well. I made up a very quick little Venturi out of basically water coming from a 1 inch or 25mm to a 3/4 inch or 20mm down to the 15mm pipe. And what I've got in there, just very hastily made, is a 8mm rubber hose, and I've popped him through into the pipe, and he's probably going down to about the end of that fitting there a little bit further. I've got a little bevel cut on the end. I played around with him for a while, and this is the flow that I've actually been able to achieve air-wise. It's pretty much all the same as just the straight elbow variety, but if that's all you've got, the only fittings you've got, I mean, that works fine. The hole's a bit sloppy here, and there's a few drips, but you know, just over the top of the fish tank, you're not losing anything. But I just thought I'd show you that as another adaptation, I suppose, of this idea of just a straight pipe. So this last Venturi here is one that I bought off the shelf. The water comes through here under pressure. There is a restriction in there. Oxygen is dragged through, mixes, and then goes out and, yeah, creates your aerated water. So well worth checking out if you're not into the DIY side of things. So the water's coming through this section of pipe, and over here, you're getting a good mix of air being sucked in through this little valve here, and going out with the water. And it's actually giving quite a nice little spread. The bubbles look a lot smaller than the ones in that first Venturi I showed you, the little homemade one. But I don't think there is as much of them. Then again, the aperture where the hole where the oxygen's being dragged in, or the air's being dragged in, and poured. So the back there, the Venturi set up. Unfortunately, it's just held on with zip ties at the moment and sitting in place. When we do some more work on the pipes and rearrange the system, it'll end up with a more permanent location. But what I've got is just it coming down through a 20mm 3/4 inch pipe, and then across a little bit of a diffuser bar, I suppose you'd call it. Just another 20mm pipe with holes drilled through it, with an end cap and more holes drilled in it. It's on a bit of a lean at the moment, mainly because the pipe isn't secured correctly. So we're only getting air out the top, probably 2/3 of the holes. So we are getting a nice spread. You can see a bit of a wall of bubbles there, a bit hard through all surface distortion. But over the back there, you can see what it's doing. It's creating a lot of air bubbles. Most impressed with that. Can't fault it really. It's been running for about a week now, maybe 5-6 days now. So I'm rather happy with the way it's going. I'm not too concerned about it not giving enough oxygen to the water, oxygenating the water.